Welcome to our coverage of the World Economic Forum and its annual meetings in Davos. I'm Markus Karlsson. Today I'm sitting down with a man who's seen as one of France's most outspoken corporate leaders. Christophe de Margerie is the head of the oil company Total. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to France 24.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, what sense are you getting in Davos this year when it comes to the global economy? A lot of questions have been asked in the past year or so about global growth and about growth here in Europe, for instance.
The first thing is, the mood. I mean, when I arrived, it was on Wednesday. I mean, I remember last year when everybody was pessimistic, everything was gray, everything was dark, and no future, no vision. This year, at the opposite, and maybe a little bit surprisingly, everything is fine. I mean, growth is back. New players are now there. Africa is very present. What we call the small dragoons, which are often forgotten when we speak about Asia, are also back to growth. Talking about Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, all of those countries are part of this, wish, and it's still, still to be confirmed. But there is this sentiment, this big feeling that we are going into the right direction and growth is back.
You said that everything's fine, but of course we're still having difficulties here in Europe. They still persist.
True, and the fact at the same time that the euro crisis seems to be behind us, and people want it to be behind us, that's also giving this feeling that even in Europe, even if we still have to face what is a difficult environment, that with this euro crisis over, we can now look forward to better days. So it's part of this feeling of things are going better. Now we have to prove it, and that's why I'm here.
You say that the theme this year, it's not crisis, crisis, crisis. People perhaps have the time and the ability to look at other issues. What about energy issues, your industry? Are people looking at that? Are people interested in energy questions here?
I had a debate yesterday on energy. The room was full. Today, especially at the time when we're talking about this energy mix, this transition from all carbon fossil energies to renewables, by definition, we are in the middle of the debate. First, we need energy. Without energy, no life, no growth. We need cheaper energy, if possible. We need more energy to have all of those people, not today. You have today 2 billion inhabitants without electricity.
What about shale oil and gas? Because there is a lot of focus
that is a big
on that. Some people say it's an energy revolution. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it's a revolution. But it's a revolution. It's not the shale gas which is a revolution. It's the fact that we were talking about peak oil. Now we are talking about resources for a very long period of time. The shale gas, not discovery, because it's not a discovery, but the addition of shale gas resources is adding 50% of additional resources for gas. So we see, for instance, the life of gas production at today's level for more than 100 years, 130, 150. That's a big difference. And for oil, don't forget you also have unconventional oil, shale oil. That's also today increasing our resources, the way we were seeing it, by more than 25%, and maybe more because we are at the early days. So it's very important in the way we are now. We know that we will have enough resources, but we have to find a way to be more efficient, cleaner, to take into account the climate change. And that's where we have also to talk about energy mix.
I was going to say,
as a support, at least we know that with fossil energies, we can make it cleaner.
Shale gas, though, and oil, it is controversial because in France, for instance, you're banned from exploring shale gas at the moment. Do you think that controversy is going to disappear eventually, or do you think it will still be there?
I prefer to avoid controversy. There is a debate, and this debate is normal. That's new, especially for France. France is not used to have production of gas or oil. So the fact there is a debate and a concern about the environment, not only the environment in terms of climate change, but in terms of
The local environment around the wells.
Water and everything. That's normal. This debate exists. And it has to take a little time if needed. Now, I hope that at the end, people in France will understand, like others, that yes, it can be done in a proper way. Yes, it can be done in a way where it's respecting the planet, because at the same time, we also need, I would say, energies which are cleaner than coal, than oil. That's the case for gas. But we need to tell people, and instead of telling them, they're wrong, we have to explain. But I think that I'm not the best to explain, because Total always give a vision of they are working for their own interest. Okay, that's not true, but we respect people. But now that the debate is in the hands of scientists, of people who are responsible of, our today's life and everyday's life, it's important that the debate take place. And it will take place in this transition we are discussing today in France. So I hope that from this we will get a clear view on, if we can, let's do it. Otherwise, it will be developed in other countries and in Europe too.
We saw recently a hostage drama play out around a gas plant in the eastern part of Algeria. It wasn't your gas plant, but is that hostage drama and security issues, are they impacting your business from now on?
Of course, it has an impact. First, we know this site. We are not too far of it, and Sonatrach, BP, Statoil are our partners, our colleagues. So we are very close to them, and frankly, that's awful what happened. And it's the first time that terrorists are entering into, I would say, an oil and gas site. So the impact will be even more security. And as you've heard, this was already very well protected by the army, but definitely not enough. So all of those sites will have to be even more protected.
So security costs will go up. Will that impact oil prices?
No. It will impact the oil price, but no, it's part of the global cost of energy. What's important is we need to make sure that we have no loss. We cannot even think of anybody being killed. So if it has to be done, which means we have to continue to work, we will take the necessary step. In between, especially in countries which might be more at stake than others, because they do participate to this action in Mali, like Nigeria, like Senegal, we have been taking even more important measures, and especially with our expatriates. In our Total teams, we have expatriates and local employees.
And the expatriates are more vulnerable?
Well, they're not more vulnerable. They are probably,
they're at
more
greater
targeted.
risk.
Right. So, why should we do this? So for the time being, if they were not really needed, we have been moving them in more secure places and sometimes even back to France. But we have to continue to work. We have to prove that it's doable, but being even more careful about their protection. Life is a priority.
Now, you and Total have gone on trial in France in connection with the Oil for Food program in Iraq in the 1990s. The charge is basically that Total facilitated payments to some Iraqi officials back then. I know this is an open court case, so I'm not expecting much comment from you on that. Still, I have to ask, what do you say?
Well, the trial started last week, and of course I was present, but I will be confronted to the judge next week.
You will have to answer some questions.
Of course, that's normal. I am there for this. So you understand that I have to keep the priority to the judge, to the president of the court, and I will not answer until I've been giving those answers to the tribunal, to the courts. Afterwards, we will see.
Do you feel under pressure?
No, I feel, to use a French word, serein, calm. But it's important at the same time. Justice is justice. So you understand I will not comment more. But serein.
There is an image that the oil industry is quite murky, and you made reference to it before, that perhaps there isn't really public trust in the oil industry. At least that is the image that you get. Do you think that's well-deserved, or does that frustrate you?
Frustrating, not anymore. I think we can improve it. I think we can improve our image, and it's necessary. It's necessary because, I mean, we will be even better in what we're doing if our image is improving. It's also important for employees. It's always difficult for my people, I used to say mine, they're not mine, but the Total employees, to be proud of their company, and they are. So they don't understand why there is this gap between their feeling and what seems to be the public opinion. What is more important and what has changed, I would say recently, is we speak, we are more transparent, that give a feeling of we are less arrogant, even we didn't believe, we didn't think we were arrogant, but we were in not talking.
So the oil industry has made its fair share of mistakes.
Well, I mean, mistake was just to consider that it was better not to say what it is. And we were not doing to protect or to hide anything, but because, I mean, it's technical, it's complex, and we say, why should we do this? I think it's important to talk. We see this on the shale gas. We have to say what it is. We need to be totally transparent. Of course, being transparent means sometimes you will be facing more, objections on, okay, you said this, but. Doesn't matter. You need to do this. It will take time, but it's important. Transparency always pays, and not in terms of return, in terms of it's necessary. We have to explain that what we are doing is really acceptable. Some people might disagree on certain things, but globally, we have to exchange our views and see what we can do to have this planet to still have access to energy in a cleaner way, but with energy. And that's why we need this energy for growth, for the return to a better period, including for Europe.
A fascinating conversation. Unfortunately, we're going to have to draw a line under it here. Thank you very much, Christophe de Margerie, for speaking to us today. And with that, we're going to wrap up the program. Thanks for watching.